9.5 called variation functions. This video is a 2-day video, part 1 and part 2. So basically, before you start, I'll tell you where to stop at part 1, and then you can stop and do the worksheet. And then in order to get the next day's worksheet, you would have to go back into the video to watch the rest of it. So keep that in mind. There's a part 1 and a part 2, and this is part 1. Okay, variation functions. So when you see y varies directly as x, basically I'm just going to pick apart the words. When you see y, it's going to be a y. Varies means equals. Let's go back up here first. Y varies directly as x. Again, y varies means equal. Directly means to multiply, and you always are going to have a k in your problem, and your k is always on top. So you're going to multiply these two together when it says directly. Y varies inversely as x. Again, y equals, there's always a k in all these variations. Inversely means to divide, but there's always a k in your problem, but you're going to divide by x. Y varies jointly as x and z. Y varies means equals. Jointly also means multiply. So you're just going to multiply the x and the z, but remember there's always a k in the problem. And my favorite one, y varies, which means y equals, directly as g, which means to multiply by g, the k, but inversely as h, which means to divide. So directly, right here, and jointly means to multiply. Inversely means to divide. The y means equals. Okay, let's start doing some of these. So here we go. I'm going to read this part and set up my equation. Y varies means equals. Directly means to multiply. There's always a k in the problem, and you're going to multiply by x. So there's your equation. Now I'm going to find my k. So I'm going to let y equals a negative 15. I'm going to find my k when x equals 5. I'm going to divide both sides by 5. K is equal to a negative 3. Okay, second part, find y when x equals 3. So I'm going to rewrite my equation over again. You're going to find y. We know that k is a negative 3. We now know that the new x is 3. So y equals a negative 9. Okay, so I'm going to just keep doing these over and over again. I think you're going to catch on, but you need to write the equation twice. The first time you write the equation, you find the letter k. The second time you find the variable that they ask you to find. So here we go. Let's do a couple more. Let's do another one like that. If y varies directly as x, so y equals, directly means to multiply, so it's kx. And what I like to do is write it out twice. The first equation, we're going to find the k. So here's my first equation. When y is 12 and x is 8. Everybody see that? When y is 12 and x is 8. So I'm going to get 12 divided by 8 equals k. And 12 divided by 8 is the same thing as 1.5 equals k if you want to put it into your calculator. And then all you're going to do is they want you to find y if x equals 14. So I'm just going to put 1.5 in here, and I'm going to replace the x with the 14. And 1.5 times 14 is 21. Okay, let's do a couple more. One more template. Suppose y varies jointly as x and z. So there's my equation. Y varies, remember, means equals. Jointly means to multiply. Remember, there's always a k in every problem, and jointly means to multiply, so I need an x and a z next to it. And I'm going to write it out again. so we have two equations. This find part is the last thing you do, so let's do this first. If y equals 12, we have to find the k in the first step, remember. X is 3 and z is 8. Remember, step 1, we always find the k. So 12 divided by 24 equals k. So 1/2 equals k, or 0.5. Now they ask you to find y in the second one. We already know that k is 1/2. We know that x is 10, and we know that z is 5. 1/2 of 50 is 25. Okay, let's do one more. And I think that's it for notes for the part 1. Let's make up a different one. Let's make up a new one. Suppose R varies directly to S, but inversely to T. If R equals 14 when S equals 2 and T equals, let's make it this an 18. Find R when S equals 3 and T equals 4. Okay. This is a new one because I haven't talked about inversely, so let's talk about inversely and directly all in the same problem. So suppose R varies, so R equals, remember varies means equal, directly means to multiply to S, so you always have a letter K in the problem. Directly means to multiply, but inversely to T, that means to divide. See this equation again. R varies, R equals, directly means to multiply, so the S needs to be multiplied by K, but inversely to T. And remember, once you have the equation, you have to write it twice. I don't know if this is going to work out, but I just kind of came up with this. If R is 18, we're trying to find K, S is 2, and T is 3. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply by 3. So 18 times 3 is 54 equals 2k. So all I did was multiply both sides by 3, and I got 54 equals 2k. Divide by 2, k is equal to 27. It says to find R, so I'm trying to find R. I know that my k is 27. I know that S is 3. And I know that T is 4. So R is going to equal 27 times 3 is 81 divided by 4, which is 20.25. It didn't turn out nicely, but at least you have an idea on what I'm talking about. So, okay, that's the end of part 1. So you can turn it off and do the worksheet for 9 point, what section are we on? 9.5, you can turn it off and do part 1. Oh, there's another one. I didn't see it. Suppose, let's do one more. Let's do one more. P varies directly as R and varies inversely as T. P varies directly as R and inversely as T. Let's do this one more. If you caught on and you don't want to watch it, you can just be done, but we're supposed to find this, so this is later, remember. We have to do this one first. We have to do this one first because in the first one, you always find K. So T is 20, P is 4 and R is 2. Multiply both sides by 20, you get 80 equals 2K, so K equals 40 by dividing by 2. Find T, so we're going to find T if R is 10, well, we know that K is 40 from the first. We know that R is 10. We're trying to find T, and we know that P is a negative 5. So I'm going to multiply both sides by T first. So we have a negative 5T. I had to get T out of the denominator by multiplying both sides by T equals 400. So T is a negative 80. Final answer. Okay, now you can shut off the first part 1 if you want to. Okay, I am back, and now we are doing, I think you have a small worksheet. I think it's only 6 to 8 problems on this worksheet, but now this is a variation or a proportion using a real world example. So, when a group of geese migrate, the distance that they can fly varies directly with the amount of time that are in the air. A group of geese migrated for 375 miles in 7.5 hours. If another set of geese traveled 3,000 miles, how many hours did they travel? So you are going to do either hours to miles is hours to miles. You're going to set it up as a proportion, which is a fraction equals a fraction. So my first hour is 7.5 hours, and they traveled 375 miles. We're trying to figure out how many hours, so we're going to put that letter as a variable, as an x, but we know that they also traveled 3,000 miles. So 7.5 is to 375 as x hours is to 3,000. And all you're going to do to solve these problems in the part 2 worksheet is to cross multiply. You're going to take 3,000 and multiply it by 7.5. You're going to get 22,500 equals 375x. To get x alone, you have to divide both sides by 375. And you're going to get x equals 60, but remember to label your answers on these story problems. 375 miles, you went 7.5 hours. 3,000 miles, you would have went 60 hours. Those poor geese, their wings are going to be sore from migrating 60 hours traveling. So, okay, one other problem, and that's about it for the second part of 6.5. If 1 dozen of eggs cost 89 cents, so 1 dozen cost 89 cents, how much does 5 dozen cost? 5 needs to be here, and the cost is what you're trying to find. Remember, it has to go in the same order. The amount is on here, the money is down here. Then the amount is up here, and the money needs to come down here. So you have to keep it proportionally in the same spot. When you cross multiply, you're going to get 1 times x is 1x, and 5 times 89 is $4.45. And that's all you're doing for part 2 for the second part of 9.5.